I'm Dave Crane. Me, Dave Crane, we're outside Chef Talks. I'll be running this all the way through 4 days, and we get some of the biggest practitioners of hospitality, of catering, of culinary excellence, and lots of really interesting characters and personalities sharing their vision on what the future is going to be for everybody involved in food and beverage and hotels. Now, this is my room. They join me on the stage with a socially distanced audience, and today we're going to be talking all about dark kitchens. We're going to be talking about the Dubai Food Collective with all the chefs who are sharing ideas and helping each other out during the pandemic to make sure that if supplies go low, even if you're in a different hotel, you still help each other out and supply everybody with stuff to be able to go and open their kitchen and still do the business. We've got a number of different key people who are going to be joining us on this big screen you can see there, from hotel consultants to executive chefs, to people who are dealing with launching new products. And I'll be sitting here, looking out, as you can see, to a socially distanced but very attentive audience. We'll also be streaming it across all social media platforms, so even if you don't get down here in time, don't worry, you've got one more day left, but you can still catch it all online. It's always a pleasure to serve you and share really cool stuff, and this is probably the only event that's going on anywhere in the world of this scale. Seriously. Gulfood is the biggest annual food festival anywhere in the world at the best of times, but this year it's the only one to go to. I'm here in Chef Talks. I'll catch up with you later. Enjoy the show. Wearing a mask and taking it off, it's really weird, but there we go. That's how we do social distancing and safety nowadays, as you all know. Welcome to Chef Talks. My name is Dave Crane. I've got the pleasure of running this room and sharing with you lots of incredible conversations. The beauty of what we're going to do today is our guests are always some of the best chefs, and today our audience are the best chefs as well. So we can say anything really and get away with it. Got a couple of guests that will wander in and feel intimidated and walk out halfway through, but that's how showbiz works. So I know that a lot of the speakers who are going to be chatting to me throughout the entire day are already in and making notes and observing. What I will say as well, by the way, if you connect with me on social media, I will be broadcasting each day actually later on. So you'll catch it first thing in the morning tomorrow. But if you want to contact me directly, then I'll give you a feed of what it is I've created as well. So with that being said, this is Chef Talks. We're going to be going through a number of different things today. I'm going to say that it's a really exciting session that we're going to open up with talking about the Dubai Chefs Collective. Now, this is an incredible story, and the nearest I can find to it is imagine the food Avengers happening in Dubai. That's pretty much a description of what it is that we're going to be talking about for the next half an hour or so. So in order to do that, I'd like to invite up a gentleman who's already been to see me, and we've already had a chat all about the incredible things that are going on at Biddy Bondi. And that's Shane Bourne, executive chef, joined by the host of a Chef JKP podcast. He's the executive chef at ME Dubai, and that's James Knight Pacheco. I was almost right. Give him a round of applause. There you go, gentlemen. I'm sorry about Pacheco. Here's the thing. Whenever you're actually emceeing an event, there's two things that happen. There's the way that you read things and the way that you say it. And what you're meant to do is you're meant to repeat something over and over in your head, so therefore you get a muscle memory, so when it comes out properly. And sometimes you don't do that. And as you noticed, that was it. Gentlemen, tell me about the Dubai Chefs Collective.
Well, first of all, Dave, thank you very much for inviting us here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to represent and to talk about the Dubai Chefs Collective, the Food Avengers, which very much it is. Yeah, it's a fantastic story, all about community and support, and we're really here to showcase some of the best talents in the region, and each one of them has an amazing story and talent that we really want to share. At the same time, it's a bit weird because it's a place that has no ego whatsoever, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, but you say that. Is that really true?
Shane?
Yeah, actually, I believe it is. I think anyone that has arced up a little bit and tried to swing a bit of a stick has been put down quite quickly. But also they understood exactly what the platform's there for. It's not about I'm better than you. It's more about how do we help each other.
So let's first start off, and if you just come in, nice to see you, welcome to our Chef Talks. If you could describe why you created the collective, how you got people into it, and whether you turned around to people and said, no, we don't like you, you can't come to play. Because that must be a thing. And those people might be in the room, but we can't look at them. Okay, so tell me about it.
I think it all kind of started off last year at Gulfood when I met James. And for a little while, the idea kind of been percolating. We'd spoke back and forth. And then we got to kind of a month or so into lockdown, and I said, okay, cool, let's do this. Started kind of developing the idea, building a website, kind of making a logo, and talking to a few of the other chefs that we know in the industry, saying, hey guys, what do you think? Would you be interested in this? And we had a very, very positive response. Okay,
can we just establish this is because there were no more customers left in Dubai and you sat there watching Netflix? Is that what kind of drove it? Because chefs get on or don't get on, but this had a very specific purpose of sharing information and being a collective, almost like a mastermind group of chefs in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, what happened, obviously, during the lockdown, through social media, there were huge masterclasses ongoing. Suppliers were sending us a load of different ingredients, and all of us were basically doing YouTube or Instagram Live or whatever that may be, and we thought, what an incredible thing to have so many different talented chefs and cooks on one collective, because we don't all know everything, and it's amazing to share so many different talents and to ask, you know, how is this specific recipe made? What is that technique? Without any boundaries and without sort of any animosity.
So there's complete openness. Now, my background of being in a group like that is as a DJ years ago. DJs won't show anything to anybody unless they've got the latest music that nobody can get access to. It's not like, please, have a look at my stuff, because then they start copying it. Chefs, there must be an element of that involved in it, or were you more happy to say, let's just, you know, let's hug it out in a socially distanced way?
I always find that a bit funny, and I spoke to you a bit about my mother the other day. There's a couple of things that I make a whole lot better than she does these days, but there's still a couple of things I can have.
Oh, this is live, mate. This is live. Be careful. Be careful, mate.
Expect a call from Mum.
But there's always going to be a few things that, even though I've got her recipe, I can never make it the same way that she does. Everyone cooks differently no matter what the recipe is, so it's not so much about, are they going to make it better? It's always going to be different, no matter, same recipe, different chef, it's never going to be the same outcome.
I'm expecting for Christmas for your mum to make you a Michelin t-shirt, by the way, 3 stars. This is for you, because you've done... So when we're looking at the whole thing, by the way, so there must be a number of chefs who wanted to join, but you had to sort of like draw a line. What was the criteria? What is the criteria for joining the Food Avengers?
Well, first of all, I sort of tried to connect the first group, as it were, and I just directly approached them and said, listen, we're going to come up with something cool. Would you like to be part of it? And was very straightforward about it. And I would say 90% of the people that I asked were like, yeah, this sounds really cool. Would love to join. The criteria at the time was basically sort of the most sort of senior chefs within their role, or, you know, should be executive chefs or head chefs, something like this. And that's what it was. But the best thing about it was from all spectrums of the culinary field. So it wasn't just Arabic cooking or Western cooking or anything like this. We have so many different types of chefs. It's really incredible. And the profiles that we have, if you go on the website, www.dubaishefscollective.com, you can see every single chef that we have there. And they come from all over the world, and they're sharing so many different ideas. And the best thing is, as I said, we're open to sharing techniques, whatever that may be. And the cool thing is that we have 5 of those, on the stage today talking to you.
That's well, 2, but all through the day. Okay, got
throughout
you.
the day, yeah.
I was going to say I was working it out. Hello, but here's the thing. While you're talking about Dubai Chefs Collective and you're talking about the incredible group that you have here, if it's online and you're having those conversations, there's no reason why you couldn't base it here, but then have hundreds of people all around the world contributing. Because at the end of the day, many of the jobs that come for chefs or anybody comes from word of mouth. So an outlet's gone, we know somebody who can fill the gap, you bring your friend in, and so it's actually a really good community for that, I would imagine as well.
Yeah, we've had quite a few long discussions about this. At the end of the day, the collective one day will hopefully branch out more than Dubai. You can set up a few different places, and you will have chefs who've been in Dubai, who've been a part of the collective, who will leave Dubai and go somewhere else and take with them what they've learned. But it is a very cool platform. We have quite a few people that we know have gotten jobs through people we've recommended, or someone said, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and someone goes, oh, I know someone. And it connects, it helps the industry, it helps everyone around. And also promotes people that maybe have helped you in the past. You can kind of scratch their back once again for helping you.
So I love the idea of the chefs breaking the branding barriers and boundaries of being chefs together. But what happens when you have that conversation above with the GMs who've got this brand saying, this is our advantage over all the other hotels and so on? They might not want to play quite so much.
Well, actually, it's the opposite.
Really?
They want to be involved because there's such a huge spectrum of people that it just draws different people in. So, for example, in the hotel that I'm working at, Mi Dubai, we've just opened up, and we want to partner up with various different chefs. And our GM is open to that because he knows that there's different markets that you can tap into. So it's very, very different. And the cool thing is, again, anyone can share their knowledge and their passion. And it's, for me, I think it's just one of the best things that's happened since the lockdown. And learning so many things from so many different chefs.
Did you say that you're poaching chefs from other places? Is that what you just said then?
Well, not poaching chefs. That's not a technical term. I wouldn't like to call it poaching, broiling, grilling. No. Also, again, during last year, a lot of the chefs were let go from their jobs. So we also help to facilitate to see where they can also get jobs. As we said, it's a huge community.
Fantastic. Now, with that community, I know that when there are supply problems, the community will help by getting access to either sharing materials or getting onto suppliers. That's been a case a few times as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been many times where someone's just simple ingredients have sent a message and, hey guys, these guys are out of stock. Do you know where I can get some? You have 4, 5, 6 chefs straight away immediately replying, saying, okay, cool, you can call them, try these guys. Or looking for maybe a specialty item that you haven't been able to find but somebody else has. Everyone's been very, very helpful in that regard.
And in terms of the other side of it, I mean, that's helping each other out. Do you, as a collective, have the ability to turn around to the suppliers in the industry and drive the prices down or get special discounts or create new opportunities to bring new foods in because you've got more weight than just one venue?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest, all of the chefs, they all talk about the different suppliers, and the huge thing that we all really talk about is trust. Especially with prices fluctuating up and down constantly, the one thing that we all discuss is who are the suppliers within our remit that we trust, and how can we make a difference to make sure that the prices are kept as where they are. Where can we shop local, because that's now quite a big thing. We have obviously the Dubai Jebel Ali Fish Farm, for example, that's a huge thing. All the farms that are popping up. So locality now, even though we can get everything from around the world here, locality is a big thing. So we're always talking about that.
And I was gonna push on that. There's been such a big push in the UAE over the last 20 years to kind of reach a self-sustainability level that's attainable in the UAE through all the different hydroponics farms, all the vegetable farms. And in the past 3-4 years, it's come an incredibly long way. And we've also given a platform to a few of these newer local guys who are trying to get on the market. They will send us stuff. We'll showcase their produce. They'll come and approach us. So it's also the ability to help the new up-and-coming guys and kind of push that local market and locals fresher, better. And I think that's very cool. It's a very good sign for things to come out of the local market.
The ecosystem around every restaurant or every locality is so important, isn't it? Because not everything, you're going to need fresh ingredients, and you're going to need it to be given locally, if possible, first. How does that work out then? I mean, the challenges of being here means that obviously you're running restaurants, you've got a great group of chefs who are all sharing information, that's fantastic, but the economics are really challenging right now. We were just talking earlier how, for instance, this area here that we're in now should be 100 seats, now is about 20. So in terms of the future of chefs' work in restaurants, sorry to put doom and gloom on it, what's your thoughts on the changes and challenges of a socially distanced eating experience?
Well, number one, it's not forever. I mean, it's temporary. Yes, it's not easy. However, human beings are the most adaptable animals on the planet, so we have to adapt in order to survive, and that's exactly what all businesses have had to do. And all of us in the entire planet are on the same boat. So it's not forever. We understand it's not easy. The economics are not great, but we must take the positive out of the negative. So, and so far, Dubai's done an incredible job with that. And it's a huge testament to the government and to the people of Dubai of how we've overcome it. If you look at the rest of the countries, it's not a bright picture right now, but thank God we're all here. Restaurants are open. We do have a generally normal sort of life compared to what's going on in Europe and other places. So, as I said, it's not forever, not easy, but in time we will overcome that.
I understand that, but I'm not going to let you off that answer. I'm going to ask you a specific on that, which is how have you managed to tweak the revenue generation when you're bringing in a third of the people? Do you get them in and out faster? Do you change the menu to accommodate? Do you put the prices up? Do you do more advertising to bring people in? Do you make sure the experience is at top notch and really analyze the experience? What areas have I just mentioned everywhere there? What would you say?
Just copy paste.
What was that last bit, Dave?
Sorry. I think what James said in terms of the adaptability, everyone went into survival mode. What was the bare minimum that was required to be able to keep your doors open? What could you go through? How could you get through those doors? And as you said, as table turns is an important thing, especially with the regulations. People are only allowed to be in there for 3 hours. So if you can get your table turns going, we spoke about this the other day, if you've got a proper value proposition to the customer, they coming in, they getting some bang for their buck, they getting an experience and enjoying what they're doing, that travels quickly word of mouth. If you've got a safe environment, if you've been very strict about following the rules, if it's visual for your customer to see that you're sanitizing all the time, you've got your health and safety checks on the way through the door. All of those things build into it, and you can play with your menu. You can go a little bit seasonal. You could maybe go a smaller menu, doing different specials, different days of the week. All of those type of things contribute to it, and I think that's what can be said for most of us in terms of how we adapted and survived, and now going to come out the other end, hopefully better and stronger for it.
So with that, I mean, obviously turning around the tables faster is an important part of it without tapping on the table as they're having their dinner and just going, and pointing at the door. But certainly when you've got that situation where you want people to be able to turn around and leave, do you think that more people are starting to come out of their house to eat in restaurants now? Or do you find that the sparse tables that you have good job we've got them because we didn't get more people. Do you have a queue outside? What are you finding?
That's been a constant, like, evolving situation with the changing of the rules and all of that. But immediately you had to go into a booking system. There was no two ways about that. You couldn't have queues outside. You couldn't have people waiting. So you expressly, in your marketing, in your advertising, saying these are the rules you're following. Booking's essential. No tables are guaranteed, etc., etc. And as you go through that, people kind of start to learn the routines, the patterns. Okay, cool, I need to get a table for that time. If not, I'm not going to get a seat. I can't go stand at the door and wait. I'm going to get turned away.
But on the other side of that, once again, part of what we do at the Dubai Chefs Collective, we get people reaching out to us on Instagram constantly. I'm having a private dinner party. Can one of your chefs come to cook? So that's another thing. So yes, we're at the restaurants. At the same time, people are actually hosting their own events in their own houses, safely also, I will say. So that's another cool thing that we can tap into, because we have specific chefs for specific foods and cuisines, so it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's true, I mean, I've worked in hospitality for many years, is ultimately the personalities of the chefs are probably more important now than ever before, for the public to know where they're going, who's there. Before, if you're eating in a busy restaurant and the chef comes over, wow, that's the guy, fantastic. But now, more than anything, you can make a relationship with every customer, but it's essential that you make that relationship with every customer, which you might not have had to do before.
Yeah, and I think that's where it builds into getting better, where your experience at a restaurant has to be as high as it can be, has to be sublime. And part of that is there's this mentality that the executive chef's the big boss and nobody wants to talk to him and he doesn't like customers, which is a bit of a fallacy. But if he's coming out of the kitchen to come talk to you and touch your table, how was your food, can I recommend this? You get a little bit of self-entitlement, and that makes your experience a little bit better.
Absolutely. I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If anybody wants to ask a question of the chefs, I see a lot of chefs in the audience anyway, so you probably do it over a coffee or a chat as it comes. If anybody, or you're unembarrassed like your friends on stage, and that's cool as well. We've got a microphone just up the back there. It has been sanitized and so on. So if anybody would like to ask a question, then just raise your hand, and you're very welcome to do that. He said, looking at an audience that just, you can't even tell if people are actually watching you with the masks on. It's just like that. But anyway, I'm assuming everybody's here. Here's the thing I want to do, and I want to talk about your podcast in particular. With the way that you're talking to chefs, they're opening up and you run your special podcast, did you find that stress is a major problem amongst chefs, the same as it has been with everybody else? And are they open and honest about it? Because some people don't share that.
So once again, the point of the podcast, for me, number one, was to listen to people's inspirational stories within their industry, number one. Number two, for them to tell an open and honest story of themselves and what they've gone through. We know that being a chef is not exactly the most glamorous job in the world, unless you're a certain caliber. I'm not naming names. Someone like Shane, for example. He's got loads of book deals coming up. However...
He's got groupies.
Yeah, groupies everywhere. Don't tell the missus.
No.
Anyway, the point was, every single person that comes on, they talk about the stress, they talk about their mental health, they talk about how easy they thought it was going to be or how difficult it's going to be in their story. So I just believed that, again, during the pandemic, everyone had a story, right? Everyone had a story. And we don't just talk to chefs, we talk to media people, we talk to food critics, we talk to so many different people, but within hospitality. But sorry to say, I didn't just want to keep it chef-friendly, because otherwise I thought it'd be boring. So I wanted to have also suppliers. I wanted to have maitre d's from 3-star Michelin backgrounds. But the mental health aspect of it and them being very honest actually really worked. Some people, they could really talk forever. Others, within some of the podcast episodes, they were a bit shy because they saw a microphone and they were like, I don't normally talk to people. But it was just fantastic. And this is what actually...
That was Hannibal Lecter. That
was Hannibal Lecter, yeah.
Okay.
Loving a Chianti. But no, overall, we're just about to launch into season 3, which I never thought was possible, in all honesty. But it's just been absolutely fantastic. And again, the Dubai Chefs Collective has been a huge part of the podcast, just to talk about the truth. Because one thing that I really care about is training the chefs of tomorrow. And they have to listen to the truth to get into an industry which is not easy. It's not an easy industry. You're working sometimes 18 hours a day for very little money, but you do it because you love being with the team, you love being with food, you love being creative. But you really need to listen to someone who understands it. People get very, I would say, delusional about being a chef, especially when you're sort of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to be on TV. No. You're going to be in a walk-in chiller picking flowers for 12 hours. You know, so you've got to tell them the truth and say, do you really want to do it? And if you do, let me hold your hand, come in, and I will show you everything possible for you to be successful. But if you don't want to do it, then you need to understand.
Final question. The Dubai Chefs Collective, where do you see that being in the future? What numbers you want to reach to? Do you see you opening up different cities as part of your collective structure? 5, 10 years, or even a couple of years? Where do you see it?
I think the long-term goal is, as you said, branching out outside of just Dubai, going more through the UAE, and then where the chefs go, making an international community of chefs, which can create very many cool opportunities. You get celebrity chefs coming in, they will do a pop-up at your restaurant for a while. It will create a very cool community around the world. It also opens up doors and avenues for a lot of other people to be able to experience different places, different type of cuisines, different type of restaurants, just from within the industry. And I think with the collective, one thing that we're going to focus on, it's not always just going to be just chefs. It's going to be a few people in the industry, how we help each other out. I think it's slowly growing, and as I can say to anyone here who's not a part of it, who is a chef, if you would like to get in contact with us, go to our Instagram page, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, send us a message, we'll get back to you. And we want to grow organically. We want to accept people into the group who have something to offer, who want to learn, who want to build onto that community. Because the bigger we get, the more chefs we get, the more information, the more we can learn, the more we get from everyone else. As a community, it just gets better.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And we do want to branch out within different countries and all of that kind of thing. But as we said, just to make it more of a community and to not keep secrets or hide your new recipes and things like this. Because, again, with social media, everybody knows what you can do. But overall, it's about support. Support network, whether it's, again, mental health, whether it's with suppliers, whether it's with trust, whatever it may be with jobs, we just want to support chefs overall.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure finding out about Dubai Chefs Collective and hearing from you guys exactly where things are going to go in the future. So I'd like to thank you once again, Shane Bond and James Knight Pacheco, for joining us on stage. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. And all the very best.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We have one of the chairs removed. It's time now to get into further our next brilliant chef talk, bringing in a gentleman who's becoming a bit of a legend in the way that he's creating his relationship with the media, relationship with the industry, and also talking about the future of dark kitchens in the Middle East. Please put your hands together for the founder and CEO of Aris Hospitality Consultants, Chef Roberto Segura. How are you? Excellent, very good, thank you. So, with dark kitchens, let's talk about what they are, first of all. How would you describe to somebody who doesn't know a dark kitchen what a dark kitchen is?
So to start, dark kitchen is not a kitchen without light. That's for
right,
sure.
That's a power cut. It's not the same thing.
Dark kitchen, ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen, smart kitchens. There are so many names for the same type of concept. Basically, dark kitchens are a delivery-only basis kitchen without a facade. That's the main description that you can wrap up in one sentence.
So we're talking about the fact that as people don't go into restaurants in the same way, or they haven't been around the world, maybe they haven't, we're leaning on the food distribution services, the Talabats, the Uber Eats, and all the different ways of getting food to people. That means that the same restaurants exist, but they then have to change their relationship with the outside market. How difficult is that to get somebody to convert to a dark kitchen when we're so used to seeing proper feedback in front of them?
So if you talk about, there are two stages for sure about the dark kitchens, the pre-COVID stage and the post-COVID stage. Definitely the pandemic launched and pushed a lot the imminent success of dark kitchen that we're coming to see. Many companies in the US projected delivery-only sales up to $1 trillion per year by 2030. That being said, Uber Eats, for example, that you mentioned, Uber Eats, increased their sales by 102% in 2020 by delivery. So with that being said, obviously, dark kitchens, it has a really great potential for entrepreneurs, for example. That's one model that you really want to push your brand or you want to create a concept, but you don't have the budget to open a restaurant. That's one model. The second model is existing restaurants that are doing very well and they want to expand their franchise, their chains, and to become a chain, And obviously, it's much easier for them instead to open a full operating restaurant. They just open dark kitchens in the key points of the city. And obviously, then you have meal plans, you have catering options, you have so many things that you can do from one central kitchen.
So with that, have you found the trend being restaurants that went dark so they could get their normal menu out to people through the distribution services? Or do you find more people saying, right, let's put all the different outlets under one kitchen, and when people order, the same chefs will just prepare that for that outlet and then prepare that for that outlet? What's been the trend, certainly for hotels?
So obviously, there are, right now, if we compare in the UAE, there are around 75 to 80 dark kitchens operating. Most of them are actually being used by existing brands. That's the big trend. Obviously, some of them started as a dark kitchen. If you remember a few years ago, the food truck revolution, right?
Yes,
everyone wanted to do food trucks. So is something happening right now with the dark kitchens kind of similar? Everyone is looking into that. Not many people understand the concept. And I think it's not a new trend or it's not a new upcoming hot thing. It's already happening. So it's time to take advantage of it and see if you're an entrepreneur or if you have an existing brand that you want to expand with a minimum budget, is a great option.
Well, there must be a massive amount of resistance from the purists who say a restaurant has to have people in it, we'll just wait and wait and wait. But there must have been a tipping point, maybe after 2-3 months or even before, where people are just saying, they're not coming out to play, we need to reinvent what we do. Did you find that you got resistance from people when you start speaking to them about it? Or was everybody pretty much open but trying to hold back the tide until they had to do it?
To be honest, the biggest resistance on dark kitchens are from chefs. We, as a chef, we also have this resistance to see and to be proud of what we do in a kitchen with proper development, with proper steps, with 20 people operating in the kitchen, as James mentioned, spending 12 hours in the walk-in chiller picking flowers. And then we talk to them about, hey, let's do a dark kitchen. It's kind of, what? I'm going to sell fried items? I'm going to sell fried chicken? Like, what are you talking about, right? It's a bit of the mentality that we still have, and the great success of the dark kitchens is totally the opposite. So obviously we are living the era of millennials, and millennials, if it's not everything, they do almost everything through apps, right? From laundry, from dating, from ordering food, from everything. You can do everything through apps. So obviously, if we want to be on trend with that, we need to take a step forward, and that's the future of the dark kitchens, to be based 100% on technology. With so many restaurants closing through pandemic, the dark kitchen is an opportunity to keep your brand existing in the city with a minimum investment, and obviously with much less staff.
You mentioned the branding there. that's something that typically a restaurant didn't have to worry about too much. Because if you're in a big hotel, it's got 4 or 5 different venues in it, one would be a bar, a couple of restaurants, people are going to look at the brand of a hotel and walk in. But the difference with a dark kitchen and going through these distribution services is you are now standalone. People don't buy that because it's in a chain of a hotel. They're buying that because that restaurant sounds like it does good Arabic food or good Turkish food or good French food. And that's why we're doing it. For many of the people in the decision-making process, they've never dealt with that before. How do you get around teaching them, you now need to do social media, you now need to think of yourself as a brand, you now need to get the world to have a relationship directly with you?
So dark kitchens are all based on branding. The main focus of a dark kitchen is branding and obviously quality of food. And that's the big difference with fast food. Right? We are not serving fast food on a dark kitchen. We are doing quality food, well prepared, well executed, minimum amount of items that can be eaten in the comfort of your house watching Netflix, right? That's the whole point. So in order for people to discover you through a delivery app, between 250 restaurants, your branding should be outstanding. So the branding process, the effort that you put on social media, the marketing budget that you have from your brand itself is more than double than the marketing budget that you have in a normal restaurant. However, you have the capacity to do that because you are cutting a lot of costs that involves a normal restaurant. Just to compare, a normal restaurant in the UAE, casual restaurant, will cost you more or less $1 million, 3.5 million dirhams. That's, let's say, 50 cities capacity, depending on the location, depending on the real estate, so many things. You have more or less 30 staff between back of house, front of house. So your payroll goes up to, let's call it 200,000 dirhams. The food costs, the general costs, et cetera, your profit is around 10 to 15% if you're doing well. If you compare all those expenses, and you're selling only one brand from a restaurant, if you compare all those expenses to a startup for a dark kitchen, it stands around 180,000 dirhams, counting the license fees. You have 2 or 3 staff in the kitchen, and you can do multiple concepts from one single location. So you can do 3 brands, for example, from one single location. So the return on investment that you have is much quicker. I calculate more or less 8 months return on investment for a dark kitchen.
Now, for a lot of, especially in the UAE, there are lots of people who are looking to open up their own restaurants. Certainly the government's very generous when it comes to helping Emiratis create their own place. Have you found that they're thinking about dark kitchens at the same time? Or is it still about, I want to have a restaurant that people can come to and see, because it's a very social eating and dining experience?
So if I get proper
what I'm saying is, on the launch of new restaurants, are people thinking dark kitchen alongside restaurants, or is anybody saying, I want to make that dark kitchen first?
So obviously the demand comes for the dark kitchen first as a trial and error process. You know, it's a pop-up, let's say. The dark kitchen concept is not new. It's been happening for long years, but with different scenarios, with different names, and with different concepts.
Yeah, but not to the degree that we have to have them now.
Exactly. So before, if you wanted to launch your brand, you will do a pop-up stand in a mall, a pop-up in Gulfood, a pop-up here and there, a food truck, just to try the market, to study the market and see how the people react to your brand. Right now, you have the opportunity to do it from a proper kitchen, sanitized, with HACCP, with all the permits, and own your own restaurant without a facade, obviously. Now, right now, during pandemic, people don't even notice that you exist or not, right? When I talk to people about dark kitchens, they say, oh, so you have a restaurant? I say, no, it's a delivery concept, so they don't understand. But that being said, many people are approaching now the company to create dark kitchen concepts first to, let's say, have an venture in F&B without the investment that usually takes.
Now, I mentioned earlier with the Chefs Collective about the people that would be asking a chef to go to their house to cook something as a social event and so on. That must be a natural spin-off and revenue generator for dark kitchens.
100%. So myself, I have Dubai Chefs Collective. Obviously, is a great platform. I'm really happy with them. Big shout out to them. We joined since the beginning, and we are being supported each other from day one. Obviously, sometimes you get a request, and also you put it on the platform of the Dubai Chefs Collective. Hey, chefs, like I have this request, I cannot do it. Somebody's interested. For sure, there is so much demand on private dinners. From different kind of clients, different perspectives. And obviously dark kitchens are a perfect place because sometimes you cook in your house and then you go to another house to cook or you do that. But now you have the opportunity to cook in a dark kitchen with all the licenses and then just transfer the food to a private dinner scenario.
So when you're looking at all the clients you're working with and look at all the different brands and so on, what is the trend for people when they want to order food? Is it Italian that wins? Is it Arabic that wins? Is it a mixture of stuff? So if you're going to turn around to a client who wants to open a dark kitchen, what would you suggest that they do first? What kind of food?
So if you see the trends in the market, obviously number one, the winner is burgers in the UAE market, in the GCC in general. And then from that, even though in volume is much less, but the trend, if you see the margins on how much increase in the last years is healthy food. So obviously people became more healthy, more conscious about what they eat and what they do, at least in weekdays. And then the trend obviously is on healthy food and meal plans and stuff like that. I wouldn't do a healthy concept as a first concept, but I will look into that after I have set up my first 2 or 3 dark kitchens. Yes.
Now, you've had a ton of experience in your career before becoming a consultant. Let's just shed some light on how you got to the position of being an expert in consultancy and also an advocate of dark kitchens. What was your experience leading up to this?
So basically, I have been a chef and a business administrator on food and beverage 16 years ago. I have 10 years in the market in GCC and being obviously working in high-end restaurants, casual restaurants, doing consultancy here and there, doing catering as well. I've been awarded as Chef of the Year in 2018, 2019. And obviously, for me, it was a break-even point that say, okay, that's enough. I cannot be in only one kitchen, doing 30 dishes for a year. It's not something that I feel comfortable with. We were talking with Mart a few times ago about when you walk into a restaurant and then you see the same menu after 3 months and you say, okay, there's nothing to eat in this place because you just get bored of your own food. So for me, it was a kind of expand and keep creative coming into my mind and to try different scenarios. So I started to first doing food consultancy, menu planning. Then I joined forces with different people, with great team members. And then we launched RS Hospitality that actually consult and manage places in all kinds of scenarios from interior design all the way to social media.
Do you think, so right now with all your experience, you've gone through a number of different things to be able to stand there in a hotel, in a restaurant, and say, from your experience, this is what you should be doing. But the difference now is the young generation of upcoming chefs are not going to have that same experience that you have of seeing what the customers are enjoying, chatting to everybody. It's going to be almost like being in a bunker mentality. You think that's going to be a big problem, bringing a new generation of consultants into the industry, or even just chefs into the industry?
So, as James was mentioning before as well, young chefs are a big trouble for the F&B market if they are not well trained, if they don't have a well mentor. I mean, we all need mentors in our life. I have mentors. I'm sure most of us we have a mentor to follow, and young people are just becoming a chef because of the success, because of the money, because of the TV. They don't realize what is the whole process that you need to follow. me, in my case, in the consultancy, it's not that I stop learning as a chef. I keep learning as a chef every single day. I have a cooking show on YouTube, on Instagram, so I turn to also cook at home, something that I never did before. Every time they ask me, oh, who cooking in your place, your wife or you? I say, always my wife, I never cook. Now I'm cooking at home, I'm developing all these skills with more time, because honestly, time is your precious asset. And for chefs that operate and run a restaurant, we don't have time. But we didn't have time before, because you work 12 hours, 6 days a week. Your only day, you just want to do a barbecue and chill in your house, right? So you don't think about anything else. At the moment that you step out of your comfort zone, then you start realizing how many opportunities and how much is there to do in the market.
What have you found are the opportunities that people might not have considered before when you go down the route of dark kitchens? We've already mentioned the fact that you can set up, say, a barbecue in somebody's back garden and do some outside catering. What other things have you discovered about a dark kitchen that is better for the future that maybe didn't even exist as a thing in the old way of doing a restaurant?
So I think the key is flexibility. Imagine that any of you own an industrial kitchen. Okay, you have 100 square meters of kitchen facility just for you. For a chef, it's Disneyland, right? So you can do so many things from one single kitchen. You can do private dinners. You can do and create your own product. You can host parties as a demo, master classes. You can do, obviously, delivery kitchens. You can do meal plans. So, and I think the key to put out there in the market all this is technology. So technology will help us as chefs to open up the market and to bring our ideas to everyone that is in their houses.
When you say technology, what specific areas of technology have lent themselves to this? The communication type, so you can do it on webcam, do your own TV show, or just the easiest to order by having an app that will go for all the food? What area of technology has been so different and will be the future that you feel?
So I think there are two key elements in technology. First one is social media with your personal brand. I am a true believer that everyone as a chef and everyone as a business owner, or even as an employee, you have to have a personal brand. This is the marketing, the best marketing is for yourself, it's not for the company. So you can actually generate sales to your company through yourself. And that's how I started. I built a personal brand around me to let me open my own company, to get me contracts, to put me here today, because I don't have a PR agency that contact me with anyone else. It's all through social media. So that's one key element, the social media element. And then the second one, apps. I've been approached by so many apps, different, sort suppliers, for example, make it easier for wastage of food. So an app, for example, that collect all the waste, not all the waste, all the leftovers of the day, you know, from the bakeries, that they have sandwiches pre-made, so at 4 p.m. they will close at 7. They know they won't sell it, so we put it on an app and we start selling it at 50% discount. So people get the opportunity to buy a really nice sandwich that is being on the day, prepared on the day, but for the half price, right? So it's a win-win situation. Obviously, delivery apps are helping a lot in terms of brand communication. However, I have to say they must drop the prices, the commission base. So that's a hot matter as well to talk and to discuss.
In what way? Where's the problem in that? Because everybody wants to make money. Yeah. There's less, or it seems like there's less available in the market. Mm-hmm. Where's the biggest challenge? Commissions, or the cost of food, or the cost of what?
So the cost of food will always be related to your product and to your sales, right? If you don't sell, you don't have costs. The same is with delivery platforms. It's a worldwide kind of fixed rate, but even if it's 5% drop, you know, it will help a lot. Because right now, what they're doing is they're calculating how much you will spend in your rent in a normal restaurant, which is around 30%. So they're charging you 30%. But on top of that, you have another cost. So obviously, the profit that you can get in a dark kitchen is 25% profit after all your expenses. But if that can be 5% increase and make it 30, with 5% dropping from their side, it will be a great addition for us to venture. And keep in mind that in UAE, there is only, let's say, 100 dark kitchens concepts. If you compare to China, they have 7,500. If you compare to the UK, they have 1,500. US, 3,500. So we are very well known in the F&B market right now, but we have a very long ride all the way to, a very long road to develop the dark kitchen system model in the UAE.
When we talk about dark kitchens, traditionally you think about the fact that there's an empty restaurant and the lights are on in the kitchen, everything's being cooked as per normal, but if they go outside, there's nothing else. Is there a better way, do you think, of creating a relationship with the outside customer and the inside of that dark kitchen? Because surely that's the branding that you really need to be able to... The chef's important, obviously, but it's that relationship with how the food's being prepared. You see that as a big opportunity for people?
100%. There is, in terms of socials, the video, what you can actually show, because right now we are in the era of filters, right? So you put a picture and then you never know if you look like that in the real life.
Most people don't.
But with videos, you kind of see the reality of what is happening, right? And if it's a live event, for example, if you have a social media person that can be in your kitchen 3 or 4 times a week, and then can run live videos from your social platforms, people will actually see, because in the live video there is no way to edit anything, right? So live videos will be a great addition for branding development of the dark kitchens.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact that if you go for fast food, which clearly I have a few times, if you go to, say, McDonald's, they'll give you a number, and then you see up on the screen that number is being prepared.
Yeah.
Now it all looks like it's being done the same kind of way. But if you were doing it on a social media platform and ordering your food, and then you could click a button and suddenly the kitchen pops up, and you know they're making your dish, there's a level of fascination for that,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that must be a growth possibility for people, and certainly that would justify the extra expense, because you know how the food's being made. It's not just being taken off a plate, emptied into a plastic carrier and taken to you.
Yeah. And not only that, imagine that, I'm sure some app developer will come up with this idea, but I'm just throwing it there. An app that allow you from a dark kitchen or from a delivery concept venue to create and to cook your own food from your phone. So right now, for example, Mille, I have I do events with them. They have an oven that it shows you in a camera inside how your food is being cooked. So you can control actually your fish, your lasagna, whatever it is doing from your bed, right?
Wow.
On the phone. You can control the temperature, the light, the roasting process, etc. So imagine an app that you open and say, okay, I'm going to cook my own poke bowl, right? So I start putting, I'm going to put salmon, but it's going to happen in real life, in a kitchen. And then once your dish is done as per what you like, then it's being delivered to you. So you feel you cook your own food, you chose your ingredients, and then you're enjoying it.
I can see so many complaints from my house and sending it back again if I was that loose on my phone to make your own stuff. With this, we've got about 5 minutes left. Any questions from the floor about dark kitchens? Anybody wants to know more as we're discussing it? Because it's a fascinating conversation that we could go on for hours, and I think it's a huge growth area. Can I just check before we do this as well, how many people in this room are actually chefs? Oh, there's quite a few, fantastic. Maybe even the third or half of it. So for many people, they've had to consider that whole evolution into dark kitchens. I want to put a different spin on it now, if that's okay with you. What I want to ask is, if you are going to a point where you're not coming out of a hotel chain or a well-known restaurant, everybody's got a recipe for doing something at home.
Yeah.
That were taught by their mother, in case of our friends from Bill Bondi. Bibi Bondi, yeah, exactly, yeah. Or you were taught by whatever tradition. Now, here's the challenge. If you can go dark kitchen with one dish, you can certainly get a lot of people who want it, like for Christmas, doing mince pies or something like that. But the challenge, especially in a place like Dubai that's so regulated to keep the supply chain clean and also make sure people don't get salmonella and everything, that's also going to be a problem. It has to be regulated, but there's going to be a birth of people saying, right, buy my dish, because you can't buy it in a restaurant, but I've got it specially. Have you found any of that kind of stuff popping up?
So there is a lot of people that right now during pandemic started developing home homemade recipes and homemade products, there is actually an app that sells so many of those brands. And you never know if those brands has been cooking in their places or they have been cooking in an actual kitchen, if they have license or not. So obviously a dark kitchen opportunity for that is to come up and contact, those kind of people, let's say 15 people, 15 dishes, you already know well-proof that are successful, then you do everything for them and you pay them a commission of 10, 15% for every single dish that is being sold. So only for the patent. So obviously that's a model of dark kitchen as well that we are experiencing, and I think it's very successful.
But one of the challenges, I would guess, if you're going down that route and you're making your own home food to try and get into the market, is the supply chain has to be, well, you have to make money of getting in cheaper ingredients, how hotels and restaurants would work by negotiating deals. If you're going to a local supermarket and getting all the ingredients, you're not going to make a profit because the prices of everything, plus the travel, plus the cooking, plus the lighting, and even your own staffing, is going to make it unfeasible.
Correct. For dark kitchens, we operate with suppliers. So the same suppliers that distribute to restaurants, hotels, we have the same. We don't buy anything on the supermarkets, but I understand for the people cooking at home or even for private chefs' dinners, sometimes I buy in Spinneys, meat that costs more than a beef. So obviously, to have the access to suppliers is very important. And I saw already 2 apps that they approach me with a list of suppliers that are willing to sell directly to final end customers.
Wow. Well, that bodes for a very interesting future as dark kitchens maybe move out of the hotel chains and into people's homes. Final question, where do you see the future of this 6 months, 12 months, 5 years down the line? Dark kitchens are here to stay. Dark kitchens will overtake restaurants, or do you feel that it will just be a balance like we kind of have right now?
I think there is always going to be a balance because we will never stop going out. At least there is another lockdown. But we will not be happy not going out to a restaurant and enjoy and celebrate our birthdays and special occasion. Obviously, dark kitchens are there to support, are not there to take out business from an existing restaurant, are there to tell the restaurants, hey, we can expand for you for a very affordable price. You can, instead to have 1 revenue generating place, you can have 6, for the fraction of price that you will pay for it. I see the future being there on the expansion of existing brands, on giving the opportunity to young entrepreneurs that wants to do their own concepts and to want to put their own markets there with a dream to hit and be the next Burger King. So all that, and plus the statistics that says by 2030, year by year grow, the dark kitchens or delivery kitchens are being grow more than 100%. So that gives us an opportunity for us to explore now, because maybe in 1 year, as you say, in 12 months, it's going to be late. Instead of 100, you know how things happen here, super fast. So instead of 100, it might be 500. And
well, I'll be very surprised if it waits to 2020, 2030 to get to that, because, as you say, in a year's time, that sounds a lot more realistic, certainly in a place like Dubai and the UAE.
Yes, correct. Dubai, it has to be on trend with every other city in the world, and the dark kitchens is not something that they can stop opening and operating. And there's so many investment right now happening that I'm sure it is going to expand to all the GCC.
And certainly when that happens, the experience of ordering from a dark kitchen will be the new battleground. It can't just be a guy in a cap or on a motorbike handing you your food. It'll be the whole food journey from the kitchen to your kitchen table.
Yes.
That's going to be the thing where people will be emphasizing.
100%.
Fantastic. It's been an honor to talk to you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to hearing more about your success and future. And thank you very much for joining us. Put your hands together, please, for Roberto Segura. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. time now to talk umami, fermentation, lactofermentation, and meat curation and bacteria. Sounds like a big subject. That's where we're going now. Please put your hands together for Carlos Frunze Turgaev Garza. Thank you. You have a group chief executive chef from Three Fields.
Yes, that's true.
Fantastic. I got that right for a change. I managed to get it. So let's talk about umami. What is umami for anybody who doesn't know, and why is it so specific that you've got to get it right?
All right, so umami is one of the taste buds flavors. It was discovered in Japanese culture. I think umami is between when it's sweet, sour, bitter, and you have that little bit of fresh flavor where you can feel it, all of it. It's unique flavor to it. Umami is, it's very, how I can say it, imagine of umami, because my talk is about the bacteria, that bacteria actually creates the umami. For example, koji or lactofermentation, or how they call it, the wild fermentation, it actually creates that beautiful flavor that we want to have, that umami. Basically, just imagine all the flavors and all the taste buds at one time, it just shoots your mouth. That's how it is.
So with umami, I thought it was a specific type of dish. Is that correct, or is it a specific type of flavor? Where can you find umami, and what would you taste it on? Give me a few examples.
All right, so umami you can taste, the most easiest is soy sauce, fish soya, miso, sake, and that's
sake.
Yeah,
It's very nice.
yeah. I like miso also. So that's where you can find the umami flavor most of the time. That's why a lot of chefs, they try to work with umami, with miso flavors. They try to work with soy sauce. But all this, it's all the fermentation itself. How the fermentation, it works itself. Because we know that you might have a fermentation today and you don't even know that, Dave.
Well, inside me or inside my cup? Because you're
Inside
kind of
your
pointing
cup.
at me when you're saying umami. I'm not sure where it's happening.
No,
Inside the cup. Okay, go on
Yeah,
then.
so fermentation is everywhere. It's in the coffee,
Yep.
bread, cheese, even in the chocolate.
Yep.
So that's what makes the umami flavor to comes up by fermenting something. For example, soy sauce, there is in Japan place, they've been fermenting for generations. And there are secrets, recipes have been passed by to son to a father and so on. And that's where the umami comes from in.
So when you're talking about it, it sounds, and the way you speak about it, it's clearly such an important part of the cooking experience. But what happens when it crosses over from Eastern food to Western food? Is it done badly? Is it done well? Or is it a natural progression?
It's a natural progression, actually. Umami flavor, all the fermentation comes from umami. It's been there for generations. In the Greek cuisine, if you know garum, garum is like a fermented meat, and it's actually been there for so long time. Parmesan cheese, it's an umami, and it comes from Italy. Here in UAE, local fish sauce, I'm going to try to pronounce correct, it's mihawi. It's a local fish sauce, and it's umami also. It's packed full of umami flavors. What else? We can see in Mexico, there is a fermented beans, been used then for generations, not through the Spain colonizations, but through Aztec culture. They've been fermenting for so long time.
So talk us through the process of doing it then. Is it something you can make in the bath at home, or is it something that has to be done in hallowed grounds and the sunlight has to be just about right, and if anybody talks too loud, you've ruined the umami? How do you do it?
You can do it easy. You can do it at home, and I really want all the chefs in Dubai start to try to do it, and do it not just at home, but in their restaurants and the big batches. Fermentation is really easy. You just need control points, and you have 5 control points. The first control point is oxygen, salt, pH level, and you have food and nutrition, and temperature. Well, I will try to explain it to you in a short version of it, try to simplify it as I can. So lactofermentation is, as a new thing, that's what they say by Noma, it's a trend, it become a food trend, but it's been there, as I told you, it's been a history. It's been so long. And I don't think it's a food trend. It's something we've forgotten as a chefs, as a people, as a home cooks at home. You can do it easy. Basically, imagine of lactofermentation, it's a bacteria which is called lactobacillus. Lactobacillus grows on everything on earth. Imagine you take cabbage, Well, let's take pineapple. Cabbage is really easy, which is sauerkraut. But let's take pineapple. Pineapple already have inside the bacteria sauerkraut. You just need to peel it, cut it the way you want it, put some salt, which is the salt mass, mix it up where you close it down for 2 hours and let this, extract the flavor of it. And after that, you just put it in the jar and you close it, sterilize it and you close it. That's where you take out the oxygen, because fermentation is an aerobic process. It grows without oxygen at all. And after that, you just need to control your pH levels, because after all this process, we create an ecosystem inside the bottle. We create our own environment inside there. Imagine that the salt and lactobacillus, the bacteria that eats on the sugars and creates enzymes, that's what creates the lactic acid flavor that umami comes from in. That's the process itself. Then after that, you just need to control the pH, which is outside, it should be around 65 to 67. And by the way, Dubai humidity is the best for fermentation, not for human beings.
Inside the house or outside the house?
Inside the house, outside the house, doesn't matter. It's just the best humidity for fermentation. You want to ferment, like fun fact, I was growing koji. I thought I need to create a fermentation chamber. But I just left it in the counter in my kitchen, and after next day, that thing just grows like that, and I was like, wow. I was like, what was that? I was like, this is just beautiful because of the weather. And I will start to research it more and more and understand that because of the sea, because the restaurant Three Fields is located near the sea, and that's where that humidity comes in, and that's where it works really beautiful.
So your role then, because in terms of umami, it can be grown by anybody, it can be distributed, and everyone can use it either at home, I'm guessing, as well as using it in restaurants. Where do you fit in with that whole process? Are you selling it to people? Are you advising people? Are you just a fan of it? Where's your positioning?
Well, I call myself an adventurous fermenter. I'm just the guy, if any chefs over here in Dubai Chef Collective or just over there wants to ask how to ferment and how to create umami flavor and how to build lacto-fermentation, I can teach you. I can come to your kitchen or to your house even and teach you how to ferment, it's so easy. And I honestly do it for free, not just for money, because I'm really fascinated by bacteria, because bacteria is something different. And I mean, they've been there before us, and they're still here, and they will still be there, even we will not be there.
This is a weird